Yes, we are still continuing with the word faith in part 2. We left by saying Isaac, the father of Esau and Jacob, was a miracle child of Abraham and Sarah. It's the next hero distinguished in the whole of faith. Just when we read in the book of Hebrews chapter 1 verse 20. It was by faith that Isaac promised blessing for his future to his son Jacob and Esau. The Jewish part which Isaac fathered twin brothers Jacob and Esau. His own father Abraham was the one of the greatest examples of the faithfulness the Bible has to offer. It is doubtless Isaac will ever in his place the legacy of the faith living carried into his marriage, Rebecca. Jacob, one and only wife, and lifelong love. Number 7, among the heroes of faith is Jacob, father of the 12 tribes of Israel. Jacob, another of Israel's greatest patriarch, father of the 12 sons who became head of the 12 tribes. One of his sons was Joseph, a key figure in the Old Testament. But Jacob started out as a liar, cheater, and manipulator. He struggled with God his entire life. The turning point of the Jacob came after a dramatic all-night wrestling match with God. In the end, the Lord touched Jacob's hip and it was broken. Man, but also a new man. God renamed him Israel, which means the struggle with God. So Israel means the struggle with God. Hebrews chapter 11 verse 21. It was by faith that Jacob, when he was old and dying, blessed each of his Joseph's sons and bowed in worship as he leaned on his staff. The word he had learned in his staff are of no significance after Jacob wrestled with God for the rest of his days. He walked with a limp and gave over control of his life to God as an old man and now a great hero of faith. Jacob leaned on his staff, demonstrating his hard-earned trust and dependence on the Lord. The 8th one is Joseph, the interpreter of the dream. Joseph is one of the greatest heroes of the Old Testament and extraordinary example of what can happen when a person surrenders his life completely obedient to God. Joseph is one of the greatest heroes of the Old Testament and extraordinary example. As I've said, in Hebrews 11:22, it was by faith Joseph, when he was about to die, said confident that the people of Israel would leave Egypt. He even commanded them to take his bone with them when they left. That's a strong faith. After the terrible wrong done to him by his brothers, Joseph offered forgiveness and made his incredible statement in Genesis chapter 50 verse 20. You intended to harm me, but God intended it all for good. He brought me to his position so I could save the life of many people. Hallelujah. Number 9, Moses. Moses is a giver of the law. Moses was not born as Tabara. But some scholars say, as the Moses was a young boy and playing, he took fire and burned his mouth, and there Moses became a stammerer. Like Abraham, Moses take a place of prominence in the hall of faith. A towering figure in the Old Testament, Moses is honored in Hebrews 11, chapter 11, verse 23 up to 29. It should be noted that Moses' parents, Amram and Jochebed, are also commended for their faith in their verses, as well as the people of Israel for launching across the Red Sea during their escape from Egypt. Although Moses is one of the most striking examples of the hero of faith in the Bible, he was a human being like you and me, plagued by his mistake and frailties. It was his willing to obey God despite his many flaws that made Moses someone God could use, and use mightily indeed. Number 10 among 11 most heroes is Joshua, successful leader, faithful follower. Against overwhelming hordes, Joshua led the people of Israel in the conquest of the promised land. Read Hebrews 11:30. The last one, but not least, is Rahab, spy of the Israelites. Besides Sarah, Rahab is the only other woman directly named among the heroes of faith. Considering her background, Rahab's inclusion here is quite remarkable. Before she recognized the God of Israel as one true God, he